Welcome back to another steamy, fucking hot as hell edition of the Guide to Poor Parenting podcast where me, Jason,
and me, Jennifer,
have a few drinks
and talk shit about our kids.
Please join us on, or follow us on Instagram at Guide to Poor Parenting.
And Twitter, Facebook, TikTok at Poor Parent Pod.
Woohoo! We are so blessed to be joined by a good friend of mine whom I've known for 15 years now. My friend Judith. Judith, say hi.
What's up? How are you? How are y'all doing? It's bloody
Sweaty.
hot in Texas. Yeah, it's so freaking hot.
Alabama too.
It's not too, like, it's not 100 degrees, but it's like mid to high 90s here.
Don't y'all get like balmy in Alabama? Like humid?
Yes.
I almost think that's worse sometimes.
Like, we're on the same, like, latitude as Dallas, I believe, close to it.
So it's probably similar.
Yeah. But I think you get it worse just because you're in a big city and you got that kind of heat island effect.
The concrete jungle. It's true.
Where dreams are made of.
Yes.
That's in New York. Okay, get it right.
No, sorry. I don't know. Have you seen Texas? It's mostly paved over.
I was talking about the song.
Miss Judith, thank you for coming back on. This is very embarrassing to admit, but Judith actually came on 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And we recorded a whole hour, and then I realized I never hit the record button, and I had done it wrong. So,
but I can vouch. It says recording, so yeah. We're good.
It is. It says red. I see a bright red light that says recording. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's beautiful. But yeah, so my sisters and I give out an award once a week. It's called Boomer of the Week. So when you display baby boomer behavior, I would just like to congratulate you, Jason, on winning Boomer of the Week 3 weeks ago for forgetting to record.
Let me talk to your manager, young lady.
What's the prize?
I know, right?
You know, what's the prize?
Does he get an award? Are you going to send it in the mail?
Sure. I'll be sure to let's say I'll fax it since he was the boomer.
Lord.
What's that?
Type it up on a typewriter. Yeah. Snail mail it over.
I'll snail mail it over to you, baby.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Miss Judith, how have you been? It has been a hot, steamy summer here in Alabama. What's it like been in Dallas?
You know, honest to God, it was a milder summer than the last two, because the last 2 years it's been like 110 for 2 months straight. So this year, yeah, it was pretty like we just bubbled up to like 98-ish all through the summer until about 2 weeks ago, and then it got really effing brutal. And of course it like boils up right when school's starting, right when my kid's birthday is, right when all the things are going on, which gives me anxiety because I'm not nice when it's this hot. I feel fat. I feel sweaty. I don't look cute. I gain weight in August. Every August I gain weight because I don't move as much, and it's just all around depressing. But it's fine. I'm great.
I was about to say, when is this whole... You said you're not nice in August. I'm like, when are you nice?
Meow, bitch.
The claws have come out.
Yes.
Only like 10 minutes into the podcast.
No, it's only 4 minutes in. Can't you see the thing?
No, I can't read that. It's too small and red.
Yeah.
I was trying to be nice.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of background. Like, I know we've had this conversation before, and I apologize for having to drag you through it, but how did we meet 15 years ago?
Jason and I met, I think it was more than 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2006 is when we met, I think.
So 18 years ago. Our friendship could vote, and all of you should vote too. But we met because I had a job at a queer youth center. It was the only queer youth center in North Texas. And I was like the program director and oversaw a lot of the programming and all the activities. And Jason's giant, beautiful heart led him to volunteer with queer youth. And so I remember him coming through training and meeting him. And we had a fast friendship. It was very easy to become friends with Jason. because you were a grad student at SMU, right? And I was just finishing grad school. So we were right in the same like era of our lives, I would say. Pre-children, pre-relationship, all those things.
When I started volunteering there, you weren't employed there yet. You were doing an internship.
Wasn't? Yeah, so I was in grad school. Okay.
Yeah, you were in grad school.
I hadn't quite finished. Yeah, so we were both volunteering.
Oh, I thought you were doing it as part of your education. You did it.
Well, I did my practicum or whatever you call it. Like I ran some groups. I have a master's in psychotherapy counseling, and so like the last semester that you're in school, you go out into the community or go into a type of practice that you want to do. You have to collect a certain amount of hours doing the thing and practicing therapy and practicing counseling. So I ran a bunch of groups there as in a volunteer role, but I was an intern that was collecting hours for school. And then they hired me right after I graduated, like 2 weeks, which was really cool.
You fooled them. Good job.
Yeah, I swear that I still say there's like few. Well, everything can change your life, but I think that particular experience was a major catalyst in my whole life. A, it brought me Jason Minter.
Oh.
And B, it brought me, I still am just like close to a lot of those people. It was a really special place, a very special time. So pretty cool. Yeah.
We met, I actually volunteered there for a while, and then one summer I hadn't lined up an internship for grad school, so the school offered a paid internship out of like a nonprofit. So Judith was my boss for a little while.
I was his girl boss.
That's right.
I wrote him up a lot. I'm just kidding. Didn't we do like a demographic survey? We did a bunch of like survey tools because I still love a survey. Everyone laughs because I still like any meeting I'm running or anything I'm doing. I'm very data driven, and I think Jason and I, no one had done any research on the youth that we were serving, and we actually used all that information to apply for grants and to share our brand story and all of that. So.
Yeah, I remember I put together this. I was doing my master's or my PhD in statistics, and I had put together a real basic survey of the youth and like stuff they've gone through. And then at the end of it, I think you and someone else were at a conference, and I had put together some slides for you and some graphics, and used them to get money. I think I don't quite know what you did with it, but
yeah, we did, and I think we were tracking things like. How old were you when you came out? Are you, unhoused? Or have you ever experienced being unhoused? Did we do like drugs?
I can't remember.
Stuff? And then we did basic demo, like age, ethnicity, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the specifics, it's been too long, and I just don't remember it.
It's been way too long. I wish I could get my hands on our work. It would be fun to go back and look at it. We probably thought it was so sophisticated, and it probably isn't at all.
No, I never thought it was sophisticated, but it was fun to do.
It was, yeah. It was.
Oh, Lord. And then, so at the time you and I were volunteering, you were dating your ex-husband, Ray.
Uh-huh.
And then you got married after I moved to Huntsville in 2009. No, when did you get married? 10 or 11?
2010. I was thinking it was 2010. Yeah.
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 Yep. I remember we flew out to Tulum, Mexico, and all stayed in that hotel together. One of Ray's friends, I remember, got drunk and like broke a glass and stepped on it.
Yeah.
And didn't realize he had like cut his foot badly.
Oh, no.
And he woke up the next morning, it looked like a murder scene because he just bled everywhere.
And to further complicate it, we're in Tulum, Mexico when this happened, and the day that he woke up in this pool of blood, it was Dia de los Muertos. And so the whole house, like all the Mexican people that were working there, it's like this day of honoring the dead. And they literally thought they walked in and found a dead person because he was like passed out in a pool of blood. And it was Dia de los Muertos. It was just unbelievable. Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable.
I'm glad he woke up.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, go ahead.
I remember poking my head in the cabana, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" I was like, blood in places I would have not thought he would have gotten it from a foot cut. And
yeah, it was like he got super drunk at the wedding and like somehow like touched his foot, seeing how bad he cut it, and then put his hand on the wall and it like smeared on the wall. It was on the mirror. Like the blood was everywhere. Mm-hmm. And literally there was, I think he is sober now. I'm not even kidding. Like, I think that guy's sober now. God bless him. He's in LA and doing great, but I think he had to put away the sauce.
Yeah.
The big two things I remember, well, the big three things I remember that wedding was the foot damaging or foot cutting. I remember we were on the beach and while we're dancing, the baby turtles started coming up out of the sand. And I was like, what is that on the dance floor? It's a little black thing. And I went and picked it up, and it was a little baby turtle. And so we had to turn off all the lights. And
right in the middle of our wedding, there turtles hatched literally beneath our feet, and we had to stop everything and save the turtles. And all the locals thought that Ray and I were like these. They were like, "Who are you? Who are you?" Because it hadn't happened there in like 12 years or something. Oh, wow. And so it was like they just thought it was this really beautiful moment and blessing, and they were like, "You are destined," and then we got divorced 5 years later.
You were destined to have your child.
We were destined to have my son and be really great friends. I think that's what we were destined to be.
That's what it was.
It was a metaphor of the turtles running into the ocean was me running away from marriage, but
I'm glad they didn't think that you were like magical and a witch and like you like hexed and you were like turtles emerge and that's why.
Yeah.
But you're chasing after turtles and trying to get them in the water.
Yeah, totally.
It was better than what I was doing. My drunk ass was picking them up and like chucking them.
Jason!
Did you really?
I was drunk, and I wasn't like
that is
I wasn't overhanded throwing them like a baseball, but I was picking them up and phew.
You're so mean.
I was super drunk. And the third thing I remember about your wedding is that your sister, your older sister, and I
my older sister.
We went to the bathroom together, and she was in the stall next to me while I was peeing, and I was not Lee. What is your sister's name?
Casey. Yeah, Casey.
I was like, Casey, what size dress do you wear?
Because she's like 6 foot tall. She's giant like Jason. Yeah.
Yeah, she's tall. And I was kind of thin. I was pretty thin at the time. So I was like, Casey, what size dress do you wear? She's like, I think I'm a 12, 14, somewhere in there. I was like, you want to trade clothes? So we got done, and I took off all my clothes, threw it over the stall wall, and then she threw me her dress, and then we came back out. And I actually have a picture with Judith and your mom, I think, or Ray's mom, and wearing the dress.
That's funny.
And I was telling Jason, I called Jason this summer. I think I can say this now. If not, I'll let you know so you can bleep it. I'll ask Casey's consent. But my sister came out a couple of years ago, and so it was quite the metaphor that she was going to be a late in life lesbian swapping clothes with with a man. She said she was more comfortable in pants. Yeah, and Jason's more comfortable in a dress. It was fabulous. So
that is awesome.
It's a hoot and a holler.
So what kind of bathroom were you going?
It was the hotel bathroom.
But we weren't really at a hotel. We were in huts. We were at an where I got married. It was like these.
It's a bunch of cabanas.
It's a bunch of little palapas with no electricity. Like we got married at a place that was completely like off the grid.
They had electricity.
No, there wasn't. You don't remember that? There wasn't like at the kitchen and all that, but in the palapas, I don't think there was.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever. All I know is eco-friendly.
Yeah.
I got you. I was just wondering because usually, you don't throw unless you went into the girls' bathroom,
Which is likely.
Yeah, it could have happened. I mean, he was chucking baby turtles, so right now I can't, anything.
Although I will say, Dumont women are not afraid to go into the men's restroom either. I'm very known to go into a men's restroom.
There was a urinal, so I think Casey came into the men's restroom with me.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
We have no manners.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah, because I remember peeing at the urinal and we're just drunk asking her, and then we switched clothes. So.
I got you. That makes okay.
Plus, if you were at a urinal, that tells me that there was a Dumont woman in the men's restroom.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you weren't peeing outside. That's usually the way it happens.
With him, yes. But I learned yesterday from Jeremiah that Texas men just do that.
Yeah. So do Texas women. Yeah.
His boys just go outside and pee in the same spot. He's like, no, sprinkle it. And I know Jason does. He'll just go outside. But that's not something that I'm accustomed to.
Really? Where are you from? London?
everywhere.
Germany.
Yeah. I'm an Army brat, so I'm from everywhere.
Okay, that makes sense. I was going to say, because in the South, you just pop a squat wherever it's... Honest to God, when I bought my house, when I bought my house, when my sister bought her house, it was like ritual for us to go out and pee in the yard. Like, I own this place.
Yeah, I can tell you I've lived in my house for many years and I've never peed outside.
Let's go do it tonight.
Nope.
I literally pee outside all the time.
Do you really?
Yes. Okay, so I have a deck in my backyard, and there's like a space between the house and the deck. And I will wall squat and piss if I don't want to go inside. And my little sister was in town in June, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "This is the outdoor toilet." And she's like, "You're ridiculous." And then we were like drinking wine, and about an hour and a half later, she goes, "I wanted wall squat pee," and then she wall squat peed, and she was like, "This is incredible." I was like, "I know." So we have zero class, zero shame.
I think that's probably more the thing, the commonality between us. It's not the Texas, it's the classless.
Yeah, I think that's true. We put the ass in class, baby.
There
That's
you go.
We have a good time. That's all that matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Miss Judith,
Yeah.
I just realized we never introduced what we were drinking, did we?
Oh,
Judith, what are we drinking?
well, tonight, as part of A Guide to Poor Parenting podcast, we are being sponsored by Josh.
Woo!
Josh is a wonderful wine that you can get at your local grocery store or convenience
Gas
store for
station.
less than $15.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
will say it's a good budget buy. It's such a great budget wine. Their red is good, their rosé is good, but because it's so boiling effing hot,
Yes.
we are partaking in the rosé, and it's delicious. Kind of
And I
like
learned
strawberries.
today. Okay, I
Yeah.
learned today that it was it's dedicated to the guy's dad. That's who Josh is the guy's dad.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And they said that it tasted like white peach and nectarines and
strawberries. Yeah.
Oh, I said strawberries. I was on.
Yep, you
Boy,
did.
There we
You
go.
were right on it. Yes, because I never taste what they say on the back of the bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
I love wine, total wino, and there's few that I will repeat over. It's on my roster, the Josh. And even SNL did a skit on it last year. I don't know if y'all saw that. It was about moms and their Stanley Cups. And they talked.
is funny.
Yeah, they actually shouted out Josh in the SNL. I'll send it to y'all later. It's funny.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so Josh is part of the zeitgeist.
Did you ever go tubing in the rivers in Central Texas and take a bottle of, you had to pack either a box of wine or you had to put it in your
Yes.
container? Yeah. We were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah. They can't do cans anymore.
Yeah.
Really?
So Jeremiah was saying that they take the bag out of the box. And by the end of the float, they slap the bag so that way it gets all the wine into their mouth. Because he was like, "Have you never heard that?" And I'm like, "No, I've never heard slap the bag. Like, that is nothing that I would, I was thinking it was something sexual, to be honest."
I
when he
would
said
have too.
it,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
But
that's a Central Texas thing.
Yeah, we've definitely slapped that ass. I just don't know if we've slapped that bag.
Amen to that.
But I'm going to try that now, Jennifer.
there you go. Let me know.
We were actually just drinking some Kirkland brand Pinot Grigio earlier for a little TikTok we're doing. So
Oh, nice.
I love me some Pinot Grigio. She does not like white, so she's
Yeah,
struggling
white
through
gives
this,
me a
Josh.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should
that's
have had
okay.
red. Yeah.
No.
White's sweeter than rosé. White, I have to be very careful with.
Because of the sweetness?
Yeah, it's
Gives you a
sweet.
headache?
This is how old I am. No, it's more like an inflammatory because it's got a higher sugar content, so it makes my joints ache.
Oh, interesting.
I was
Being
telling
47 is sexy.
Oh, yeah. Speaking about being 47, I was just telling Jennifer a minute ago that last night a couple of our friends came over, and we're really close to a bar that does drag shows.
Fun.
And so they were like, "You should come with us." And it was already 10:30 at night. And I was like, "Papa is tired."
Papa is tired.
Papa already had two big glasses of wine about 4 hours earlier, and I'm very sleepy.
Yes.
But they were like, come on. So I was like, all right, let me go get a little Red Bull. So I had a Red Bull,
Now that's the wildest thing I've ever heard, is to drink Red Bull. That's like doing cocaine.
Well, it was not much, but I had a little bit of Red Bull. We walked over to the bar, and then I had like, I was telling Jeff, I was like, I'm a little hungover. I only had 2 drinks. And then I started counting. I'm like, no, that was 4 drinks. So,
you know what I did last night?
What?
No, go ahead, Jennifer. I want to hear this.
I was going to say he was so proud that he made it into Sunday. He was like, I made it to 12:30. And I was like, yay, I was asleep.
Yeah.
That is funny because I never go out. And we actually had plans last night. And I got home at like 12:30, 1 o'clock. I thought it was lit
Both
large.
of you guys. Yeah.
Are you feeling it today?
Well, I didn't drink that much. We went to the Zach Bryan show, which was so good. It was my son's birthday present. And so me, my boyfriend, Ryder, one of his friends, and one of my girlfriends all went. And I microdosed mushrooms.
Hell yeah.
Did you really?
It was so fun. It was so and you sleep great. Like, I mean, when you microdose, you don't take enough to like trip or anything. So it's just like it enhances everything. It kind of makes life a little brighter. But so I had like 2 beers at the show, a little bit of like maybe half a bottle of wine before. But by the time we got to the show, I was sober and we just microdosed a little bit. And it was so fun. And I slept great and I feel wonderful.
There you go.
Yeah.
Except for the heat, you're living large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Highly,
but you're inside.
I've literally been listening to like Chelsea Handler keeps talking about microdosing mushrooms, that it's like really good for you and it's good if you have a lot of anxiety. And so one of our friends does it all the time and we asked him for some and it's like, I might have to work that in because it's all natural.
I was about to say, Zay and I have my own. Okay. After the podcast, I will send you a link to show you how to grow your own because it is not difficult.
Really?
Yeah, you can buy a kit.
Huh.
Yeah. So I don't know.
After the podcast,
After the podcast.
You send us SNL Josh, and he'll send you how to grow your own mushrooms.
Not that I've ever grown mushrooms because that would be illegal.
But you saw it one time.
But I've seen it on YouTube.
Is it illegal?
To grow them, yes, but you can buy the spores, and they're legal.
Oh, that's interesting.
But
okay, that's different.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think if I was selling, they'd probably complain. But
yeah. But you can get them online. Like I was looking at these like drinks you can get that have mushroom in it. It's like lion's mane. Have you heard of this?
That's not psychedelic though.
So lion's mane doesn't do the same thing as the psychedelic version.
Yeah, it doesn't have any of the psilocybin in it.
So it's the psilocybin that is okay.
This psychotropic.
Look at you, Professor.
He's teaching
but Jason's never
today.
done any of this.
That's
He's
right.
never
He's
done
never
it.
done any.
That would be illegal, and I don't do that sort of thing.
We don't do illegal things.
All right, let's backtrack so we don't get in more trouble. You got married in 2010.
Yes.
How many years after you got married did you and Ray have your beautiful child, Ryder?
Great question. I want to say Ray and I were together 10 years before we got married, which is a long time. So I always tell people that because they're like, oh, you guys weren't married that long. I'm like, yes, we were. I was with this person for 17 years. Kind of had to hold a gun to his head to get married.
I was about to say, he was stringing you along for 10 years. He was stringing me along
for a long time. And but anyways, I got pregnant like 2 weeks after. Well, I don't know. I might have gotten pregnant in Mexico because we were there for like 10 days after the wedding. And I got drunk one night and threw my Nuva ring in the ocean, which I don't recommend. I know. I totally.
And you're complaining about me throwing baby.
I know. It's like baby turtles and Nuva rings. Pick your poison.
And throwing plastic into the ocean. Okay,
I know.
go ahead.
It's a horrible thing.
The plastic than the turtles, Jason.
And the turtle that's dying because it's got a Nuva ring stuck around its neck.
No.
Right.
No.
It's got Judith's pussy juice all over it.
Ew! I'm going to kill you. That's the best smelling turtle south of the Mississippi, bitch.
Ain't ever gonna give birth to anything though. Go ahead. All right. So you threw your Nuva ring in the ocean.
Threw my Nuva ring in the ocean, and then we got married November 1st. By Thanksgiving, I was pregnant. I was super sick. I was so excited because you were actually coming into town. You and Nate Edgerton were coming into town. I don't know if you remember this. You and Nate Edgerton were coming into town for Christmas or New Year's. And I found out I was pregnant, and I threw I wasn't trying to get pregnant. I was like, let's just fuck it, right? I didn't think I'd get pregnant that fast. And I found out I was pregnant, and I started bawling and threw a temper tantrum because all my holiday plans were ruined. I was like, I can't party. I can't go out. All my friends are coming in. And it was like the most depressing New Year's ever. I know. But then I had a beautiful boy August 10th. So from November to August, it happened very fast. It's probably the most like transformative year of my life, minus the year that I got unmarried. So.
With only a little bit of fecal alcohol syndrome.
Did you say fecal?
Fetal.
I was like, did I hear that right? Because like I have the headphone off to hear you, and it was
Judith's doing booty bumps and wine.
Alcohol syndrome. You don't get pregnant from the ass, Jason. Did you not learn that?
She's doing shots up her ass and got pregnant.
Jason, all holes are not equal. I know you'd like to think that they are, but they are not.
You just made him snort. That's like their first snort on the podcast. Also.
Oh, God. Okay. All right. So
Ryder was born in August.
Ryder was born in August, and he was born on the hottest day of Texas history. I think that's since been broken, but at the time it was the hottest day in Texas history. 112 degrees that day.
Damn.
It was freaking awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
you were
this-
giving birth. That, just adds to it. Long birth? Short
Good
birth?
question. No, my birth was, I actually gave birth. We do this every year. We go, I don't give birth every year. But my son, you're like, what are you talking about? No, we just went there. No, my son.
Ryder, this is how long it took. Get the stirrups out.
Yeah. No, we reenact it. No, we don't. But my son I actually gave birth in a house with a midwife instead of at a hospital. And so,
okay.
Yeah, it's in this big house on Swiss Avenue, which is this historical district in downtown Dallas. And so every year on his birthday, we go take a picture on the front porch of the house where he was born. Anyhow, so I get there and my mom is with me and Ray is with me. And I'm like in denial this is happening. I'm like, how is this going to come out of me? I was freaking out. Pretty calm, but freaking out. And I remember getting to the house at 11 a.m. And my mom they had to break my water because I basically, it's very sexy. I had gestational diabetes while pregnant. And so
That happens a lot.
yeah, it happens a lot. But I had like really high blood pressure, but I couldn't feel it. So I was like, I'm fine, everybody, I'm fine. And they're like, you have to have this baby now. And it was like 10 days early. And I was like, I'm not ready. And they're like, it's time. And I was not into it. So this midwife did this European thing. They do it in Europe all the time, which saves thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, where they literally put it's a balloon. I know this sounds crazy, but they put a balloon up your cervix and they expand it like an inch or two, like up your cervix to start the cervix opening. And they did that to me the night before I was to go in.
Okay.
Yeah, and super cheap, right? Like it only cost me $1,800 to have a baby, is my point. So they put the balloon, fill it up with water, expands my cervix. I have some contractions the night before, just thinking, not knowing they're contractions because I'd never had a baby. And I'm like, oh, my stomach kind of hurts. Go to bed, wake up the next morning, get there at 11 a.m. They're like getting me ready. For them to break my water, another European midwife hack, they put a Zyrtec up my vagina. And the Zyrtec, because it's like a certain type of pill, like for allergies, it loosens the member, like it loosened everything.
Okay.
Because it's an anti-inflammatory. And so then because everything loosened around my cervix and uterus, then my water broke. They they put like a little bit more water in the balloon, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It expands. I've got the Zyrtec up my Yahoo. And then they slowly break my water. So they're using the balloon and some kind of instrument. They break my water and I feel it happening. It feels like I'm peeing myself. And they're like, okay, your labor's going to begin. And I was like, whatever. This is crazy. 30 minutes later, I'm like, oh God, it's happening. So this is about...
I can feel it now.
Yeah, like, oh Lord Jesus. And it was like 12 o'clock. noon, and my mom looks at me because she's with me, and she goes, "You're gonna have this baby in 4 hours. I had all my babies in 4 hours." And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up, Mom. You don't know what you're talking about. This is my body. It's my baby, and quit projecting on me.
I want it now.
Yeah. And like, I had read all these books about giving birth with a midwife. I was fully prepared for a 12 to 18 hour like blackout, right?
Right.
So at noon, I start labor, and my son came out of my body at 4:36 p.m. So my mom was dead on right. It took 4.5 hours, and everyone's like, "Oh, you had such an easy birth," and I'm like, "No, I didn't. I had no drugs. I was like flopping around. I kept walking. I had leg pain, like I had leg labor. I don't know. I was gonna give birth like in the tub, like at the house." But for whatever reason, when the water hit my legs, I felt like they were on fire. It was crazy. And they're like, "You're having leg labor." I'm like, "What's that?"
I've never heard of leg labor.
Yeah, I was like lower back, and it would like wrap around and shoot down my legs. What's crazy is now that I'm perimenopausal, that's where my inflammation happens. Like in my hips, it's like the same place that I had labor pain. I now have like inflammation with perimenopausal pain, which is weird. So I don't know if that's connected, but it could be. That's something I would research. But
just blame Ryder.
Yeah, I do blame Ryder for everything.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
So did you have the balloon in overnight? So like they put the balloon in and you just left it in overnight, and then
they left it in overnight, and it slowly started expanding my cervix, so I would dilate. Because I was like at a 2, and for you to be in active labor, I think you have to be at a 4 or a 5. They're like, "We need you at a 4 for your water to break." So when I went in and it was a 2, they're like, "We're going to do this balloon methodology to try to get you from a 2 to a 4. And if that doesn't happen, we might have to do different interventions." Well, my body listened. It did everything it was supposed to. It's a pretty cool labor story.
That. Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
I mean, I might not be saying it exactly right. That's my memory of it. But I do know that they put a balloon up my pussy and filled it up with water and helped the baby come out. I do know the balloon part.
There you go. And the Zyrtec part.
And Zyrtec, yeah, Zyrtec. Yeah. They actually use, but they'll probably charge you $2,000 for a Zyrtec in the hospital, right?
Oh yeah,
right.
Where that's why I hate the healthcare system in the States, because I was like, it shouldn't cost this much money for something so natural that happens. And so I was even out of network because it was a midwife. My insurance wouldn't cover everything. Even being out of network, our entire cost for having a baby was $1,800, which is pretty crazy. And that includes the aftercare.
Very cheap. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So this was, how old is Ryder now?
He just turned 13 a week ago.
Oh my God.
Well, happy belated birthday to Ryder.
He is a 13-year-old boy. Yeah.
Is he in the throes of puberty at the moment?
He's a little behind his friends, I would say, with puberty, but it's definitely happening. Like a couple funny things that have happened over the last like 3 or 4 months, because it's starting to get more active with puberty. One day he comes out of the bathroom and he goes, "Oh my God, Mom, look." And I'm on the couch and I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Look." And I turn around, he's butt naked. He's like, "Look at my balls. They're starting to drop. My dick's about to get huge." And he was like dancing up and down.
Did he say dick?
Probably, yeah. I mean, we say, we don't censor a lot in my house. He's like, "My dick's," he said dick. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was just wondering, that just surprised me, For
Judith lets Ryder cuss. As long, what did you say? You let him cuss as long as he's not insulting people?
Yeah. Like, if it's used for humor or emphasis, I don't really care. But if it's name calling, bullying, or hate speech, no. So I kind of like he can't look at me and be like, "I hate you, bitch," But if he's like, "Man, so-and-so at practice was being a little bitch because they blah blah blah," like sometimes I don't monitor all of that or censor all of that. Because I have a very bad mouth, and so it's hard for me. Yeah, I know.
That's surprising.
I blame it on working in restaurants for 15 years, but I have always cussed a lot. There are studies, Jason Marie Minter, that says that cussing, people who cuss a lot, they have a higher sign of intelligence. Have you read this?
I think I've heard of that. Yeah. But it's not like I don't fucking cuss.
Not as much as me.
Yeah,
y'all cuss. Oh, thank God. So you cuss a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My God. I'm a big cusser.
Fuck is my favorite word.
I know.
Because you can use it in any context.
Yeah.
Happy, sad, mad, it doesn't fucking matter.
Funny, funny, like.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we went and saw the new Deadpool Wolverine movie just recently. Good? Yeah, it was pretty good. But Kalia was like, "Oh, I want to go." I'm like, "Oh no, baby, that's like a little too violent and too much cussing." And she's like, "Auntie Jay cusses in front of me all the time."
I'm Auntie Jay.
I love it.
Yes.
And I was like, "Not like this, honey."
Well, I mean, it's more the sexual stuff.
Well, you also don't call her a twat waffle or a cunt.
Or anything like that. No, but I don't say "see you next Tuesday" to my girl.
I don't use those words. I'm a big.
I love cunt.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't use that word, but I don't use that word with my kid. Like that's.
Oh yeah. You're not gonna call him a cunt.
Yeah.
I call mine a dick and an asshole.
I do too. I'm like, why are you such a dick?
Yeah. And he's like, Mom. And I'm like, you're being such a dick and asshole right now. Stop.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Because he's 13 as well.
Mm-hmm. So we have similar
February,
parenting.
He turned 13, yes.
Is he going into, did he just start 8th grade?
7th grade. He's a February baby, so I think they started him at like 6 for kindergarten.
There you go. Okay.
And so he's older than most of the kids, and so that's why he's in 7th grade.
Yeah, that's like a common practice in the South too. Like, I didn't know about this. I grew up in like northern Oklahoma, but everyone was shocked when we put Ryder in kindergarten at 5. Like he had just turned 5. They're like, "Why aren't you waiting a year?" And we're like, because we don't want to pay for daycare. You know what I mean?
Seriously?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that's like $8,000 a year, But looking back, now I know why. Like, I do think Ryder struggles sometimes with maturity, with like focus and academics. So he'll eventually level up. I mean, it's fine. And in sports a little bit, I think if he would have been held back a year, he would have been top dog. Like now he's pretty average size wise. I think in high school, he'll end up shooting up taller than a lot because he's a pretty big kid. But, in Texas, they purposefully do that so that the boys are bigger, stronger, faster. I don't know if that's how it is in Alabama, but it's like literally a strategy.
It depends, I guess, on the parent. If they're that like sports focused, I imagine that they do that. Yeah. They want their kid to be the older kid in the class, not the younger kid in the class, I imagine.
Yeah, we can thank Maxwell Gladwell for that, right? He came up with that in Outliers. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do. I know what you're talking about,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's funny because like y'all are talking about boys, but like Kalia is right on schedule for age, but she is she's well into her way into puberty, and like she's sporting a B cup at 10, and she's had her period for almost 2 years now. Yep. So
at 8? Yeah. At 8?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, she was spotting the year before.
Yep.
So
that's the youngest I've ever heard.
Well, I talked to the doctor and they said, it's like anywhere between, they can go as young as 6. Yeah. It's not super common, but it can happen. Her mom was the same way. And I've heard for black women, it does usually start a little earlier.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I think Oprah Winfrey talked about that. Dead serious, that she started her period really young, so people perceived her as quote unquote fast. Have you heard that? Yeah. So
I haven't heard that, but I wouldn't be surprised. But Kalia's very developed for a 10-year-old.
Yes.
Like she and her mother, who was 27, wear the same size clothing.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yep.
All right. So you gave birth 10 years ago. What? 13. God, sorry, I'm not paying attention.
Or you need to not drink any more wine.
Jason,
that's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
It's the whole purpose of the podcast.
13 years ago.
13 years ago, you gave birth.
Yeah.
So how far after the birth did you and Ray break up?
Great question, I think.
Is it 4 years?
It was 4 years.
My math?
Yeah, because we split. We split right after
what?
We split.
Okay.
We broke up right after Trump was elected. Not because he voted for Trump. He's not a Trumper. But I just remember the reason why this is so pronounced in my head is the night Trump won the election, my dad had a stroke and was put in hospice. So it's very pronounced. I know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I think it was
all
a blessing.
Trump's fault.
Yeah. No, I do
He
blame
voted for Trump.
Yeah, I don't. I truly think though, if my dad would have been alive during the Trump years, it would have caused a lot of discord in the family because he supported him. I'm kind of glad he went out because it would have been a hard 4 years with him supporting that. Like there might have been some lines drawn, but so my dad went into hospice the very next day, and he was there for like 3 weeks. So I was away. I was back and forth a lot. My dad was dying. I was going through a ton, and it was kind of like in that moment that I knew, this is so sad and depressing, but it's true. He didn't know how to comfort me, my husband. Like he wasn't the person I was going to for comfort, right? And it was like this very bold realization that I felt as if we were really good business partners. We were good family partners. We were great.
Good mom and dad.
Yeah, great mom. Well, no, I think I did 80% at that point.
Okay.
He's Hispanic.
Like most moms.
He's Cuban. I will say I love the man. He's part of my family, but he did have some, I would call it some machismo, patriarchal ideas about what fathers do and what mothers do. Still does, because I'm the one that took Ryder to his house this afternoon, not vice versa. But he just has this idea that mothers do more, that's part of it. So when my dad was dying, I just knew it was true. I was like, I can't do this. But so, a lot of times when you're going through grief, a lot of other things magnify. So that January, February, after when the new year hit, we split up. I told him in December I wanted to separate, and we were divorced exactly a year later. So I moved out in February, and the divorce was final that following December. So it happened pretty fast. A lot of people say I had an easy labor. They said I had an easy divorce. My divorce was not easy. I hands down say it was the absolute hardest thing I've ever been through. Granted, it was coupled with losing my father, who was a really strong person in my life and my trajectory. So to have the two like main male relationships fall apart that close together was crazy here. Yeah, I don't even think I didn't tell a lot of people. I don't even think I told Jason. I don't think I told a lot of people for like 4 or 5 months. I just moved out and kind of like lived this life of like, I didn't know how to articulate it, because we'd been together from 22 to 39. That's how long I was with this man, which is
a long time,
very long time. And we had been friends since I was 20. So it was like half my life. And I just didn't quite know how to tell people. I also didn't know if that was going to be the final thing. Like we were doing a trial separation. But I have to tell you, like, the minute I was out, I was like, bye, Felicia. We are done. We are done here. I never even kissed the man again after I left the house. Like, some people, like, do the dance of back and forth.
Right.
It's like, they say when a woman's done, she's done. And I was done. And it wasn't because he was mean to me or did anything bad. I just truly think we outgrew one another. I think spiritually, after becoming a mom, I felt different about the world. I think I continued to grow and ask bigger questions about life. He still has the same job, has the same routine. I can tell you Monday through Friday exactly where he's at and what he's doing, even to this day, like his schedule. So he's a very like OCD, consistent. We always called him an elk. Like, an elk steadily runs through the forest. That's how Ray was. And when he met me, I was a cocktail waitress. I had 6 credits in college. When we got divorced, I was a dean at a community college and a professor. I mean, he saw me grow up, which is beautiful. But I think I had tremendous amounts of change throughout the duration of our relationship. Whereas he was 30 when we met and 47 when we broke up. So, if you think about the years of 22 to 30, I really, really changed right in front of his eyes. And it's great because he never stopped me from growth. He always encouraged me. But I don't know how often, and this is something I've learned in my own relationship management now, and it's still something I'm working on, is I can be so hyper independent sometimes that I forget to check in with people and say, this is where we're going together, right? Sometimes I just go. I was raised by a single mom and who didn't have to negotiate her decision making. She was always in control.
Tell
of that.
anybody anything. Yeah.
So like I still struggle with like circling back and making group plans. I think I'm better at it now than I was then for sure. But marriage is really hard and partnership is hard, and learning how to prioritize the we over the me is something that hasn't come naturally to me. And I don't mean that bad. I think a lot of people could feel that way. but I'm not subservient and I'm not passive or beta, as people would call it these days, of being beta. So any man who's with me, and I'm laughing because my boyfriend is in the house and can probably hear me saying this, but any man who's with me probably has to adjust to a strong-mouthed woman who isn't going to be told what to do, how to do, or when to do it. However,
that's right. Go girl.
Yes, that's great. However, I will say some of the people who have been in marriages for a long time that I greatly admire, and friends that I see who have really made it work, are people who do know how to compromise and who do make time for relationship, even if it's not easy or what's the word I'm looking for? You have to carve it out. It's not, you don't just get to have a great relationship. You have to really, really, really work at it together.
Right.
And
but you have to grow together as well. And
correct.
if one person's growing in a different way and the other's staying the same, it's just a different trajectory.
It is.
Well, words are hard for me. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds, frankly, because you were dating so, you met him when you were 20. It's like, you just, sounds like you outgrew him.
We just outgrew each other. That's absolutely true. I remember being in grad school and I was paired up with this married preacher's wife who I was like, this is going to be terrible. We have nothing in common. And we were doing this project together. And she told me, because I was thinking about getting married. I was going through therapy at that time. Like, should we get married? Because I broke up with Ray for a while and then we got back together and got married very quick. And she said, the one thing I've learned as a wife, because she was like my age now, working with 28-year-old me in grad school. She said, sometimes when you're married, you have to be more committed to the concept of marriage than to the actual person. And I didn't get what she was saying then. I was like, okay, whatever. Once I was married and divorced, for whatever reason, I've never forgot that conversation, because I was like, she's right. Sometimes, and I think that's why religious people tend to stay married longer, because they subscribe to a system or a framework. And so to leave would be defying God. Well, sometimes you need God in the room to keep you there, right? I'm not religious. I'm pretty agnostic. And so I don't have a pie in the sky telling me exactly, or a guy in the sky or a girl in the sky, like telling me what I should be doing. So my free will can get in the way of that sometimes, or I might divert, which isn't bad. Neither's right or wrong. But I just think that's why sometimes with religious people, they stay married longer, because they know how to have that faith or how to latch themselves to something and not question it. I questioned it constantly. I still do. Like, is this right for me? Is this good for me? But for me, when I ask myself those questions, a lot of times, especially the relationship I'm in now, when I ask myself those questions, I'm like, oh, of course I want to be with him. Oh, of course this is healthy. Oh, of course we treat each other with respect. But when I was asking myself those same questions when I was married, I did not feel valued. I did not feel like I was listened to. I felt like there was a lot of things taken for granted, I think, in that relationship. But he could probably say the same thing about me too. You know what I mean? Like, but we are great friends. I will say shouldn't say great friends. We're very good friends. We have a lot of respect for each other. And we co-parent really well together for the most part. I still think, and I don't know if this is just a woman thing, and Jason, I know you're married to a man, so it's like one of those things where I don't know who plays which role in the relationship, but the more maternal figure, I think, always does a little bit more. That's you, babe? That's what I thought.
Yeah, he's the mama. Definitely. Hands down. Zane is such a dad.
Just like you, Judith.
He's a big bitch.
I'm a big bitch.
But Zane's like the dad.
Oh, so the dad.
Like more disciplinarian, more like firm.
More hands-offy.
Oh, gotcha.
More, I don't know when to not pick. That kind of thing. And he's the come give me a hug. Oh, here, baby. And, Zane's more of the I'm going to, push your buttons and I'm getting home from work and just leave me alone kind of. Jason's in the kitchen barefoot, pregnant. And Zane's.
I'm just fat. I'm not pregnant. So how did Mr. Ryder take the divorce? Like he was 5 or he was like 3 or 4 at the time?
No. He had just turned 5. He was in kindergarten. Ryder took it, he was very confused. Like, I remember the moment that I told Ray, I can't do this, I want to separate. I had driven home. Ray had, for once in his life, picked up Ryder from school for whatever reason that day. Whereas typically, I always picked up and dropped off. I did all the things. And I remember coming home from work, and Ray and Ryder were at home, and Ryder was like in the other room, and Ray goes, no, Ryder had gone to bed, and Ray goes, Ryder said something to me that really bothered me and kind of like hit me. And Ray's not emotional, so I was like, what did he say? And he said, I wish you and Mommy wouldn't fight so much. Like, why do you and Mommy fight all the time? I know. It's like so sad for a 5-year-old to say that. And that just kind of like opened up Pandora's box of breakup. I was like, he's right. We fight all the time. And so we decided to move out. I remember sitting Ryder down with Ray. Ray did not say a word. I had to do the whole thing. But I was like, buddy, listen. And I had talked to a few of my friends who had just recently been through the same thing. And they said when a kid's at that stage, at 5, 4, there was a book called My Two Houses or something like that. And you really talk about how Mommy and Daddy were still a family, but we're going to live in 2 houses. Mommy's going to have a house and Daddy's going to have a house. And you're going to have 2 houses. And you didn't do anything wrong. And we're going to work through this. And I will say, Ryder, I truly think it makes me sad, but I think it gave him a ton of anxiety. I think that it really broke his heart, and he didn't have the language to say that. Ryder and I were like so attached at the hip. We're still very, 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 very close. I mean, we're extremely close. He tells me everything. So I'm very lucky I have a 13-year-old boy that still trusts me and is like, treats me like one of his, really good friends. And I don't say we're friends because we're not friends, but he trusts me with a lot of things that is going on in his life. And
Which is good.
Yeah, it's great. And
I had that relationship with my mom, so
good.
I understand. Yeah. We're, it's like you can, you're not going to get in trouble.
Right, yes.
For telling something. Like, my balls dropped, Mom.
Yeah.
My dick's going to be huge.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's good. But I will say, though, if he's already at 4 or 5 saying, I don't like you guys fighting.
Yeah.
I was 12 when my mom told me.
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't you do it sooner?
Yeah, that makes me...
Because kids pick up on that sort of thing. Yeah. So...
That's funny because I was 12 when my parents got divorced too, and I had the same reaction. I was like, why didn't you do this years ago? It's been awful living with you all. And I think that's maybe why I pulled the trigger so quick, because I already knew it. It's like, I already know this isn't good for me, and I can't keep faking it. Yeah, or him. Yep. And Ryder and I moved out, got my own apartment. Ray kept the house. He still has the house, which is great. He loves the house. It wasn't my first choice. So he kept the house.
It was a cute house.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah, and now looking back, I made the wrong choice because his house is now worth like 3 times as much, and it was like the worst financial decision of my life. But it's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
You're fine. Yes.
I'm free. That's good. But Ryder, I will say the first year he regressed. There was some regression. Like, he peed the bed again. He started peeing the bed at night. When I would pick him up from school, he would like always break down. Like, there would be something that would just make him cry and sob. And I'm like, what is going on? And I was in therapy at the time, and the therapist told me, she said, the child, like, the parent that the child has the stronger relationship with or feels safer with, that they're on the emotional Wi-Fi with, as they call it, the emotional Wi-Fi, that's the parent that's going to get that behavior. What's probably happening is that when he's at Ray's house, he has to keep his shit together because Ray's not his EQ isn't as high as mine. He's not as like intuitive and all. He's not as conversational. And so I think Ryder would get with me and it'd all fall out of him. And so we would sit together a lot, and I never made plans the day I would pick him up after a few days because I knew it would just be Ryder and me like sitting in his room catching up and playing and talking and doing like the quality time eyeball to eyeball, like physical touch, like. And the kid slept with me until he was probably 9, which is pretty crazy. I mean, I remember just being so annoyed that he slept with me all the time, and my mom's like, trust me, one day he will not want you in his bed, so just soak it up. And plus he might need this. He doesn't have a sibling that he's going through this with. And so there were things like peeing the bed, like emotional breakdown, really needing to physically be like, we always call each other our koalas. He'd call me his koala because he would just like latch onto me.
Aww.
I know. And Ray took the divorce a lot harder than I did. I think in my head I knew it was coming, Ray like it went through a really bad depression. Yeah, for him it was a blindside. I think if he were more checked in, it wouldn't have been.
Right.
Because it's not like typical man, yes. Because our sex life was all dried up. I mean, I won't get all into it. And it wasn't that it was like that our whole relationship, but the last few years, it's like when a woman doesn't get to sleep, her pussy dries up. Like, we don't want to fuck you if we can't sleep. If you're not helping with parenting or sleeping, you will not have sex with your wife. I just want everyone to hear me say that because it's facts.
And JD Vance, if you're listening, this is
men don't understand if they would just clean the kitchen, make dinner, and like there's very small acts of service you can do to keep your sex life alive. And I will say I have a boyfriend that does that now, which is great. So I'm not in that. But Ray,
just don't throw your new ring in the ocean.
No, girl, that ship I think is starting to sail.
I'm messing.
I'm lucky to have a period every month.
You said perimenopause, so we know. I was just messing with you.
It's like if I had a baby that would come out with like 1.5 eyeballs, like 7 fingers. It would have 3 alcohol.
3 tits.
Yeah,
Total Recall.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but I think Ryder, we did do a little bit of therapy with him. We just stayed very, 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 very consistent. Ray would not speak to me, though, for a couple years. So that part was really hard. But I just did the old AA thing of keeping my side of the sidewalk clean and, like, making sure I was always being respectful. And even if I wasn't getting the respect I wanted, if I demonstrated it, we eventually got there. So much so that, like, for Ryder's 13th birthday, one of my goals in the last few years has been for us to be able to go to dinner as a family and to do things together. And the last 3 years we have dinner together and we'll ride together to things. And for Ryder's 13th birthday, we actually went to Ray's restaurant with all his friends and we all had this big, sit down dinner together and all that.
Well, that's awesome.
It's been a lot of healing. Yeah, a lot of healing.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always been impressed that you two have such a good co-parenting relationship.
Yeah, we do.
So
we had to. It's like I wish we would have I can't say this because I still don't think we would be married today, even if we had worked out that hard point. I think destiny is destiny sometimes, but I do think if we had put as much effort into being married as maybe we do to our co-parenting relationship, it might feel different. So who knows?
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say. Do you feel like it's you putting the more effort into the co-parenting, or is it?
Girl, hell yes.
Yeah, that's why
I think
when
in
you
10
said
years,
we put more effort.
Yeah.
When you said we put more effort, and I was like, I think you mean like because of your efforts in the co-parenting department.
I have to literally ask myself because we are 50-50. I've never gotten a dime of child support, y'all. Not a dime. And a lot of people think I'm foolish for that. I probably am foolish for it. But when I'm like sitting down and thinking about life, it's like, is having $1,000 extra a month worth the animosity and the fighting with Ray, or is it better just for us to move forward? And one day, Ryder will thank me. I know he will. He'll be like, "Dang, Mom, you really." I do think I've had to.
Well, he'll say, "Damn." I mean,
yeah. I think I was the more mature person because I think if I would have gone for child custody because Ray loves his money, I think it would have gotten very ugly and very, very bitter, even more so than it was the first couple of years. And I think it could have really had long-term implications. It wasn't the battle I was willing to fight because at the end of the day, when I would like close my eyes and visualize the story for my family, it was, I want us to be good friends. Like, he's not a bad guy. He's my family. Like, I always tell you this. I hate the word ex-husband. I use the word my son's dad, my son's dad, my son's dad, because he's my family member. And so I have to walk in with that. And so I do think I have to carry a larger load. And if that means I have less zeros in my bank account for now, whatever. None of that matters when you're dead, but the legacy of your family will continue. So
Yeah.
And Ryder knowing, that you guys are friends is probably the best.
Yes. Yeah, peace is priceless, frankly.
It is priceless. No, I like that. Peace is priceless. You're 100% right.
And then you have a rich boyfriend, so there you go.
And Ray can pay for college. So.
There you go.
Well, he doesn't know it yet, but that's kind of a plan that I have in the back of my head because he has more equity in the house. Like,
Sell the house, send Ryder to college.
Correct. And I actually think that could happen. And I do think Ray, at the end of the day, if that were to be the case, would say, I can handle this. You handled all of that. Like, he is, like, mature enough, I think, in that sense to help out.
And by the time that Ryder goes to college, he'll mature even more and be able to, understand that concept of, hey, I've done all this shit. Yeah. Now it's your turn to step up.
Yeah. Hopefully. Cross our fingers.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Judith, I think this is a good transition spot.
Sure.
So let's do our snack time. I don't know. We when we did the podcast the first time, we made sure we were all eating the same snack. Did you get a snack for the podcast?
No, it's okay. I'll just drink my. Okay. I'll drink my wine or eat.
She was drinking her strawberries.
Yeah, she was drinking her strawberries.
Her Josh.
She was drinking her salad.
Yep. The fruit salad?
The fruit salad.
No.
Yes.
Is that what we put it as?
Grapes and nectarines and strawberries.
That's not what I know fruit salad to be, but...
So we've been snacking on pineapple as we've been eating.
Yes.
So now we've had our snack time. Now it's story time. So Miss Judith, I hope you can still remember what story you told us last time. But do you have a funny or embarrassing story?
No, I want the story of the sports coach.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was like, oh my God, because I don't know if you told it at story time or if it was just
I think I told the ball
conversation.
Drop. The ball drop story at story time.
Yeah, tell the coach one.
Tell the coach one, because that one I just couldn't believe.
Oh, okay, so my son...
Sorry.
No, it's a good one. It's a good one. And Jason knows because I called him. Like, I don't know what to do. But, so my son does play sports. He's played baseball for a few years. And the last 3 years, he's played, like, elite baseball. So you, like, pay in. They do 10 tournaments in the spring, 6 tournaments in the fall. It's a year-round baseball, very intensive, very competitive. And Ryder was on this team, like I said, for 3 years. And the age thing comes up because Ryder played with everyone a grade lower because of his age, right? And so the first 2 years he played down a grade. So he was like stronger, better, more competitive. And then this last year, we wanted to level him up with his actual grade so that he would be on par for high school. So we leveled him up last year, which switched the team. Same coaching system, but just a different team. The coach, like they have a head coach over all of the teams, and they assign another coach to each team. The coach that he had for this year was just a little colder, kind of more competitive, kind of more...
an ass.
Yeah, total dick. Yeah. Not very nice, like to the point where if a kid hit a home run, he would just give him like a head nod. No, like real glory over like big moments. And so
you need that.
Yeah, you do need that, especially at 12 years old, which they all were at this time. And I had started to pick up. Ryder just wasn't enjoying baseball, and I was like, buddy, like what is it? He's like, I don't like this coach. He's mean to me, and I was like, you need to suck it up. I thought Ryder was kind of being.
Whiny,
yeah. And he can quit sometimes if he's not the best at something, and that's something we've had to work on with him. Like if we're playing a game and he starts to lose, he'll just get up and leave the game. And I'm like, sit your ass down and lose like a man.
Kalia's done that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we've been working on that. So I kind of thought it was some of that immaturity or some of that boiling up. And it was...
Or the sore loser.
Yes. And so I was keeping an eye on it. And then I started watching the coach during games. And I was like, I was talking to Ray about it. I'm like, I just don't really know if I like this guy very much, blah, blah, blah. Ryder's not enjoying baseball. Ryder was secretly telling me on the side, I don't want to play. I don't know how to tell Daddy. His dad played college baseball. So he's like, I don't know how to tell Daddy I don't like baseball anymore. I'm like, do you not like baseball? Or do you not like the coaching? Like going back.
Right.
And because I was getting, my spidey sense was telling me that Josh is an asshole. And,
not Josh the wine.
Not Josh the wine. Josh the wine's delicious. Very nice connection.
Jennifer. I had to, thank you. Yeah, I tried.
That was good. Well played. And so in the middle of May, we're like, I think we had like 3 weeks left in the season. When I tell you this shit's intense, they had practice on Tuesdays, practice on Thursday, and then they would have a tournament every weekend. So baseball was like 20 hours a week for us. So on top of school, on top of my life, on top of work, on top of trying to be a girlfriend, my life was just so busy. And so Ryder's exhausted. We're all exhausted all the time. Well, I go pick up Ryder from practice one night at like 9:30,
And him and his best friend get in the car because they're both playing on the same team. And Ryder gets in the car and he goes like, Mom. And I was like, what? And he goes, Ricky Joe. I'm going to say this bitch's name too on this podcast. Ricky Joe, who RJ is his name. Who's
is that his full name?
Ricky
like,
Joe. Girl.
Ricky Joe?
Yes.
Like 2 first names?
Ricky Joe.
Oh, that sounds like
Lord.
a very backwoods, like Alabama, like,
That sounds like
Trailer park,
like he went to
you know?
Talladega and watched the races.
Doesn't it? Yeah. Well, he's from
Sorry.
Waxahachie, Texas, so sounds about right. Well, Ricky Joe's like the head coach, and then Josh is the assigned coach to his team. So at the end of this batting practice, Ryder gets to the car, like I said, he's like, Mom, something just happened. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, like, seriously, something just happened. And I said, what happened? And he goes, Ricky Joe just called me a faggot. And I go, and I'm sitting in the car and I go, what? And he goes, Ricky Joe called me a faggot. And I said, he called you a faggot. Like, I said, Ryder, I'm not playing. I need to know if he's really called you that. He goes, Mom, he called me that. And I look at his best friend. I'm like, did he say that? And he goes, yeah, he called him that in front of the whole team. And I said, what the fuck? Like, I start freaking out and I'm like, why did he call you this? And Ryder goes, all that happened was we're leaving batting practice and the coaches are like standing at the door and they're like fist bumping each player. Well, when Ryder walks up to fist bump or when the coach tries to fist bump Ryder, Ryder refuses to fist bump him. Ryder's like, no, I'm good. And Ricky Joe's like, oh, what's the matter? You're not going to fist bump me, you little faggot. And Ryder,
that's the F word I don't like.
Correct.
Like,
it's like one of my least favorite words of all time.
Which, besides the N word, the N word is more above that one, but that's like up there, top 2.
Yeah, I mean they're just not appropriate. They're absolutely not
never
hate speech, and so I'm like, literally, I feel like boiling coming up my body, and if I could go back, I would have gone inside and talked to them directly. But I called Ryder's dad. I'm driving home, and I'm like, something just happened. And Ryder's in the car with his friend. And I'm like, Ryder, tell your dad what happened. I was nervous that Ray would not respond or think it was that big of a deal. The minute Ryder tells him what happened, Ray flips out more than me. Are you kidding me? He's trying to emasculate you. That's a bullying tactic. That's not what coaches do. So I'm like, yes, we're aligned on this. So we're totally aligned on it. Yeah, thankfully. And honestly, like Ray has a very diverse group of friends. He's always been active in the queer community. So it's not surprising. I wouldn't marry someone who's prejudiced or, homophobic. That just isn't someone I would marry. And so I can't sleep that night. I think I stayed up till 2:00 just raging. Ray and I were actually on the phone for like an hour and a half. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? And so we come up with this idea. I draft this email. We know that the next day they're going to send out the tournament schedule of where we're supposed to be Friday morning. When the schedule goes out, I hit reply all with all these parents on there. And I send a scathing email that says, you called my son a faggot. I've also later learned that he called them little retards, which is another R word that we don't believe.
Lord.
Yeah, they called the players little retards when they wouldn't get plays the right way. They made jokes about his daughter. Like, his daughter played college softball, and they made jokes about taking her and dropping her off in the country and beating her if she didn't make the team. Yeah, and Ryder's like, Mom, but I don't know. I mean, they were kidding. They're kidding when they said all these things.
That's not kidding.
Because they thought that I was overreacting. And I said, I am not overreacting. That's not modeling the kind of behavior. No. So I write this crazy email where I call out all 3 things. I said, we will no longer be associated with you all. I want every parent to know this is who this is. Send the email. And then I go to every website I can find, like Google reviews, the Dallas Mong blog post, the baseball system that they're so affiliated with. And I just start posting comments about him, like, oh, you should play for the Reds if you want your son to be called a retarded faggot. Like, literally saying those things, like, this person is not good. And so I blow him up. And then Ray has my back. Ricky Joe never even replied to our email. He never acknowledged it happened. But Josh, not the wine, Josh, the mean ass coach, replies, calls me a soft loaf of white bread, a soft loaf of bread, tells me I'm what's wrong with society today. So clearly they're like Trumpers and
uneducated and ridiculous. So we start going back and forth in email, and then eventually I'm like, I have to stop. So I took the high road and backed out. But Jason, I haven't told you this. So then I called Jason and I'm like crying, and I'm like, Jason, I'm just so sorry. Like,
I remember that call.
I said, this happened to my kid. Yeah, I was like, this happened to my kid, and he's not even gay that I know of. And you grew up being talked to like this and made fun of, and like you know how you feel something like it's visceral when something happens to your kid. It's like it happened to you. And I just had to call Jason and say, I really experienced like this homophobic feeling. Like I truly empathized with what homophobia must feel like, and I'm just sorry on behalf of society to you. And he's like, okay, girl, like, yeah, it sucks. Okay, you gonna be all right. I'm like, I'm gonna be all right. But he was like, it was crazy. But this is an update for you because we haven't talked in 3 weeks. 2 weeks ago, baseball tryouts happened. Do you know that 6 kids left that team, and it was because of the email? Even though no parent ever replied to me, I found out half the team walked because of the coaching, and I think that we were part of it. So even though in the moment not one parent replied to the email, but
they read it.
They read it, and there was decision making after the fact, and so I do feel some vindication there, because I told Ray, I was like, Ray, how could no one reply to this? How could if someone wrote an email where that happened, I would reply to them individually and say, are you kidding me? Can I please understand what happened? Or I would have went back and asked my kid, did this happen? And a couple of parents did ask their kids, but you know that one of the parents said to me, casually, we were talking a few weeks later, and one of the dads said to me, well, that happens in coaching all the time.
No.
And I said, no, it doesn't.
Shouldn't.
No, it doesn't.
Shouldn't anyways.
And even if it does, my kid's not playing for someone where they get called names like that. And so it was, there was some moment. It's kind of like when you find out someone secretly voted for Trump and you're like, what? But they did or whatever. But that was a parenting moment. And it makes me sad because I truly think that experience has bruised Ryder's perspective and impression of playing baseball. And he chose not to play this fall for the first time since yeah, but I mean, he's okay. It's not like he's sad about it. We're going to revisit it in December if he wants to play in the spring.
How does Ray feel about it?
Ray was like, you're going to play. And I was side texting Ray, like, I need you to step back, take a deep breath, think about this. He doesn't want to disappoint you, but he's telling me this a lot, that he doesn't want to play. So Ray said, no, you're right. And him and Ray sat down and had a talk, and Ray asked him a very pointed question. He said, buddy, is it in your heart to play baseball right now? And Ryder said no, and he said, that's it? That's great. You don't have to play. We're going to give you a break.
Well, that's good.
So he did listen to his son.
He grew.
Yay. Yeah, it's like the Grinch. Yay. The Grinch's heart grew half an inch.
Yeah. Can Ryder not play with his school since he's in the 8th grade?
Great question. We don't have baseball in middle school in Dallas.
Really?
Yeah, which sucks. That's why it's so expensive. So because of that, they have these baseball programs that you have to pay $6 to $10 a year to get into. Oh, it's a total.
Jesus.
Yeah, we were paying $8,000 a year for baseball. It's like a cash cow, and it's politics, and it's money sucker, and it's just not worth it. But any kid who wants a chance to play in high school, for the most part, has to play in that system, or they won't be competitive enough. So Ray's kind of nervous because he's like, oh, if he sits out for one fall, is he going to lose his ability? And I just told him, he's not going into the MLB. He's not going to be a New York Yankee. Just relax.
Ray wasn't.
No,
I know.
Don't say New York Yankees. No.
Oh, I love the Yankees.
I'm a Red Sox fan. Yeah.
It's the first thing we've disagreed on.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Go Lakers. What are we talking about?
Okay. All right. So Jason doesn't know anything about sports.
No,
I know a little bit about sports. I know.
Did you watch the Olympics? Did you watch the pole vaulter?
No. I watched the pole vaulter catching the pole.
Of course he watched the pole vaulter.
Well, it was on TikTok, so yeah, I watched that.
But not the actual, Olympics.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of it. Actual, Olympics, not TikToks of a schlong knocking the bar down.
Jason's all doing it in slow motion.
Right? Pausing it, you know. On that note.
All right, Miss Judith, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for all our 25 listeners for listening to another episode of A Guide to Poor Parenting. If you have any funny stories about your kids,
or if you need some bad parenting advice or have any ideas for topics,
please email us at guidetopoorparenting@gmail.com.
If you like our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening on.
And if you don't like our podcast, just like when our kids ask why we have to borrow their gaming headset for a podcast, even though we bought it and they're not using it.
Tough shit. Is that what happened?
That's what happened to Judith.
Oh, that's funny.
This is my son.
Thanks.
Oh, that's funny.
My friend Jeremiah was on yesterday and he borrowed his kids. So.
Yeah, it's like, I don't have a mic. Oh shit! Wait, my son's whatever. Yeah, I was called a gaming center, and Ryder's like, it's an Xbox, Mom.
Get it
Whatever.
right, Mom.
Thanks, Judith.
Love you guys. Thank you so much.
I love you.
Love you too.
All right, bye.
Bye.